thank you for waking us all up out here, for all you do. And
thank you for giving us the voice.
For being out there helping to keep the constitutional republic.
I want to thank you for
your support for veterans in the military.
Educating us.
Standing up for conservatism.
Giving us the truth.
Daybreak with Drew Steele.
If Joe Biden was your husband, he would say, honey, I know we only make $4,000 a month, but let's spend $7,000 a month. You know that does not work.
That's Congressman Byron Donald saying if Joe Biden was your husband, he'd say, honey, I know we only make $4,000 a month, but let's spend $7,000 a month. It doesn't work. And listen, what are we going to do about spending in Washington, D.C.? Well, why don't we ask the Congressman Byron Donald, who's joining us. It's his Thursday visit with us on Daybreak, 92.5 Fox News. First of all, maybe the person is shuddering because Joe Biden's their husband. Maybe we need to start with that, first of all, then the spending issue. How are you this morning?
I'm doing good, Drew. How you doing?
I'm all right. Yeah. That was pretty funny. But it's that serious. I mean, it's that simple, but it's that serious. I mean, we know how it is that people in D.C. can't grasp onto the realization that if you're only making $4, but you're spending $7, that's a bad thing. But I guess as long as you got the printing press, that's good. As long as you have people that aren't taking spending seriously, it's fine. Your thoughts on what's going on there in D.C.?
I mean, unfortunately, it's what typically happens in D.C. We're the people's money on other people. So the Democrats don't care. It's not coming out of their pocket. It's not coming out of the money that the Chinese sent to Hunter Biden and Jim Biden and Haley Biden and some other Biden. I could only presume who that is.
Yeah.
So they don't care. It's not their money. They look at it as play money. And so what you have is a situation where Freedom Caucus members and members of the Senate, Senator Scott, Senator Lee, Senator Cruz, and others, we're finally like, okay, look, enough's enough. We got to lay a marker of what spending needs to look like. And, Drew, we're pretty simple. Like, COVID's over, so we should get back to pre-COVID spending levels. You would think that is just common sense. But up here on Capitol Hill, it's being met with, the press secretary saying it's a 5-alarm fire. I mean, this place is a joke.
Yeah. How are people reacting? I mean, is there any kind of, when it comes to people you talk to hear about in the Senate and maybe even in the House, I mean, is there a realization that we can't keep going on like this? Or is this like, let's just push the ball forward and keep going and see what happens? I don't know, I guess in 24, we just keep it going?
No, there's a realization that we can't continue like this, especially in the Republican Party. I probably would argue you probably get a handful of Democrats who agree that we can't continue like this. But, at the end of the day, it boils down to politics. You have, certain members who are concerned about what spending cuts will mean in their reelection chances.
Right.
And so, right now we're going through the process of just identifying the stuff that we can cut, the stuff that we can trim down, the stuff that we can get back to normal standards so the country can survive, frankly, because American families aren't going to be able to survive like this because the inflation is going to hit them the hardest, right, or rates are going to have to be high enough to squeeze our economy and to squeeze the inflation. Either way, it's a bad situation for the American people.
Yeah. By the way, let me just say this. Congressman Byron Donald is joining us our Thursday visit. And let me just remind everybody that we're about to do something here right now on the radio here for Southwest Florida that I think is very important. We're not going to talk about the shiny objects, everybody. There's business to be had in Washington, D.C. There are things that are going on, real tangible things that are important to your everyday business. And I know there are shiny objects that people want to follow, but there are things that actually need to be discussed. For example, when we're talking about spending or we're even talking about ESG, I don't think people understand the fact that the president, after bipartisanship on the House and Senate side, presenting something to the president that says, listen, you can't have people who are fiduciaries when it comes to your investments, make a decision and decide that, listen, my politics are more important than my fiduciary responsibility. And then present that to the president, and the president goes, no, we can't have that. No, we got to have ESG more than ever, and vetoing his first veto and vetoing something of bipartisanship where people realize that you can't do this. you more than anybody know about the financial aspect of this. I don't think people realize how huge that is, what he did and what he said to the American people, and the responsibility of people and investments, in people's investments, and the people that manage that money. Maybe you can speak to that.
What Joe Biden did is he put his political agenda above the returns of every American who has a 401k. You know, and let's start with the 401ks, because that's really where this is targeted. Most 401ks are set up with funds. Actually, all 401ks are set up with funds, whether they're target date funds or some other application of funds that a fund manager says is a good basket of securities or bonds. What these ESG funds do is that they only invest in certain companies. And the history on these funds is clear now. They perform at a lower return and they charge higher fees. So if you're earning 6.5%, but your fees are 2%, you only earn 4% that year. You know, firstly, the broader market is typically 9 and change, and you know, a good advisor's fee is 1.5%, whatever the case might be. And so your earnings are down year over year. Your time value of money is down year over year. And that's because Joe Biden would rather play politics than do, frankly, what Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill said is the right thing to do. And his video on why he vetoed it was like the most vague, inane, silly video I've ever seen. It was ridiculous. But what it really does is it saddles Americans with poor returns in their investment accounts on the altar of climate change and environmental, social, global governance structure that nobody can still fully define.
But the fiduciary responsibility to me is, and maybe I'm off on this, but to me that's shocking. So what the president says is, as a fiduciary, somebody who is being entrusted with doing what is best for you and your investments and looking out for that responsibility that they have. Now the president is saying, no, their responsibility is whatever they feel is the quote unquote responsible thing to do. No, you got to invest in this because in the future, you know, we have a planet that's in trouble, and they care about what's going to happen 100 years from now, 50 years from now, and so that's where you want to be. And that's not your responsibility to do that, to go there, as opposed to what needs to happen now, and the investment that needs to be made for your money now is shocking that he would allow that to take place. It destroys the fiduciary responsibility.
Drew, when I was an investment advisor, my number one responsibility was maximum returns for my clients.
Right.
Period.
Yep.
That's the thing. That's the game. Getting as much in returns from my clients, not putting my own political prerogatives around what should be invested in. Now, if my clients want to invest in tech companies and green companies, and they say, Byron, that's what I want to invest my money in, then you have a responsibility to follow the wishes of your clients.
Right.
But most Americans are not saying that to the 401k managers. Most Americans never talk to the 401k managers. You know, if we're going to be totally honest, a lot of times people have to, unless they're told or asked to go look at their investment mix, they just put it through the 401k. They're leaving it to the manager to make these decisions. And so the investment manager, who's really 3 degrees of separation away from the person who's actually investing the funds, the employee, they're going to be the ones left holding the bag with this stuff, because the investment managers following this ridiculous, not all of them, but some of them, this ridiculous ESG, not even mandates, ideas, as opposed to making sure they're getting maximum returns for the individual.
Congressman Byron Donald is joining us on Daybreak, 92.5 Fox News. A couple of other things. Listen, there is a shiny object that's out there, but there is something that's fundamental to the story and what's going on with the former president and the Manhattan DA. And I think ultimately for many people, it's there are so many holes in it. There are so many things that shouldn't be presented. It almost feels as if the DA now in the jury and the discussion happening behind the scenes, who knows what that looks like, and the presentation of this case, not to mention what that does to his reputation if it's something that he even cares about. I mean, how could a bar want to continue to have this person as part of it if they're getting ready to present a case that they know is not going to and should never have seen the light of day? But I guess it speaks more broadly to, and you can talk about this, about what is these radical DAs, these Soros-funded DAs that maybe they're not people necessarily who are going to make the right decision with cases. They're just going to make the one that they're told what to do in these cases, that they would actually be the fall person because ultimately they don't want that to stop. They don't want the political actions of a DA to stop. They're going to move this forward. That's a dangerous precedent.
Look, what we're seeing now is the newest iteration of prosecutorial misconduct. These Soros DAs that everybody likes to talk about, they have political motives and a political agenda. They're not looking at each individual case and making the necessary charging decisions on the merits of the case to keep people safe. They're looking at each individual case and they're using politics to decide how they're going to charge. That's whether that's people are actually committing violent felonies or felonies in the city of New York, where Alvin Bragg has moved a lot of that stuff down to misdemeanors, or whether he wants to take some obscure, maybe quasi-misdemeanor and make it a felony just because it's about getting Trump. This is banana republic stuff. And look, I got to tell you, Drew, we got a real problem in our politics where people are using the legal system to squeeze their political ends or their desires or whatever the case might be. And this is banana republic stuff. This is not good. What they're trying to get Donald Trump on is ludicrous. They have nothing. The left has been trying 6-7 years now to get Trump legally. They still haven't been able to get him because all they're trying to do is pick a target and find any possible way to criminalize the man. Look, you don't like his politics? Fine. You hate his tweets? Okay. But to use the criminal justice system to silence your political opponents is flat out wrong. And look, what's happening to Donald Trump is wrong. But ladies and gentlemen, this stuff is happening in a lot of places. It's wrong. If you have a problem, deal with it at the ballot box or just don't talk to the person anymore. But to use the civil system, to use the criminal system shouldn't be happening. Our justice system should be blind. It should be about the facts, not about personal vendettas.
Congressman Byron Donald is joining us on Daybreak 92.5 Fox News. One other thing I just wanted to mention before we go does have to do with schools and school choice and even some of what's being discussed here in the state, you know, going after the governor again with the quote unquote don't say gay bill. And they continue to couch all of these things. The left does the way that they want to without getting to parental rights, the rights of parents, the fundamental rights of parents to be able to talk about what they want in their child's education, and how the good news is school choice. We're talking about more and more states are talking about it. The bad news is that for those that think that just because you're going to pass a law, that those that want to destroy what it is that has to do with their your child and their political motivations and using whatever opportunity they can to do that is still a concern. And maybe you can talk a little bit about school choice and maybe even what's happening here in the state.
Well, look, I think what's happening in the state is very, very positive. HB1 passed the House. I know the Senate has it in their hands now, and I would urge my colleagues in the Florida Senate to go ahead and pass that bill, get it to Governor DeSantis. School choice is something that's been a real battle in our country for really 40 years now, and it's been unfortunate because, look, the public sector unions, the teachers unions, they have held, public education with a tight grip. And I think that in America today, where there's so many options, so much information, why can't parents make purchasing decisions in education?
Yeah.
I mean, parents choose where their kids play football, basketball. They choose coaches. They choose tutors. They choose churches. They choose doctors, but they can't choose a school. I mean, it's flat out ridiculous. And so I think that school choice is on the move. It's been a battle that's been brewing for a long time. And Drew, the reason why it's such a battle is because the other options where you would take your child to school are not unionized. And that's why it's been such a battle.
Yeah.
If teachers were unionized in private schools and charter schools and parochial schools and whatever the case might be, then the union wouldn't care about school choice. They would be all for it. They would be like, yay, more money in the system. Yay, this is great. But what they don't like is that parents would choose an institution that doesn't carry a unionized workforce. And that is why the union screams bloody murder over it. I mean, look at California, the Los Angeles school district right now. You have 600,000 kids who are not in classes over a union dispute,
right,
over a fight about money. The kids are not in school. The adults are fighting about money. Give parents the option to either be a part of that or not. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's like a 30, I forget what they were asking, like a 35% or 30%, 35% increase in pay.
Yeah,
like
Drew, Alberto Carvalho, who used to be the superintendent of schools in Miami, he's now the LA County superintendent of schools.
Yeah.
I think the offer from the district was $27,000 or it was like a 27% raise, and the union saying, no, we want a 35% raise. And look, I'm not trying to get into the pockets of teachers. We have a lot of teachers who care about our students.
Of course.
They work hard for our students. They want the absolute best. But the kids have got to come first over the adults. And so parents should be at the head of the line. It's been my position basically my entire life. My mom was a school choice mom before being a school choice mom was cool.
Congressman Byron Donald is joining us on Daybreak 92.5 Fox News. All right, my friend, I appreciate a few minutes. All the best. We'll see you soon. Thanks so much.
All right. See you, Drew.
Okay, see you.